So thank you so much, Irina, for this introduction. I'm just going to introduce Professor Ramona Mihaila. She's going to have a presentation about intercultural perspectives on gender and euphemisms. Professor Ramona Mihaila is a Vice Rector for International Relations and full professor at the Faculty of Foreign Languages and Literatures, and director of the Institute for the Social Studies of Gender at Dimitri Country University, Christian University in Bucharest, where she teaches undergraduate and graduate courses on literature, women's writing, and gender studies. She is the author and the co-editor of 20 books concerning women's writing and gender studies. She has been a visiting professor at Arizona State University and a research fellow at international institutions such as Library of Congress, Washington, Chatham House Library, and University of Southampton, The Hague National Library of Vienna. She has received grants for her conference participation from Hogeschool University Brussels, and she has been coordinator of European projects on gender studies and women's writing. She also serves as the executive publishing editor of Journal of Research in Gender Studies. I think we are all keen and eager to listen to Professor Mihaila, correct if my pronunciation is wrong, about her presentation dealing again with intercultural perspectives on gender and euphemisms. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, my family name, in fact, has Slavic influence. That's why it's very hard to be pronounced, but don't worry about this. You're very close. Okay. Thank you very much to all the students for taking part of the course. Try to share the screen. I'm not sure, Olorina, if you...
I'm not hosting this.
Oh.
So whoever is the host should allow you to be able to share
okay,
the screen.
Share. You're unable to share, right? Let me check. Yes. Can you see the share screen button?
Yes.
Okay, so I think you just have to tap on the share screen button and we are going to see your screen.
Just a second.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, can you see it right now? Or?
Yes, we see it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I start my presentation, of course, connecting to what Professor Oriana Palushi delivered yesterday, a very interesting course to us. And I think a lot of the students were also present yesterday, since I remember many of the names. She also discussed about how difficult it is to, of course, to teach to students from different intercultural contexts, let's say, in terms of intercultural communication. So many of our students will work as professors, as teachers in high schools, or they will work in cultural institutions. So they will deal with intercultural communication, first of all. One of the aims of the course is to make students familiar with differences and similarities of pluralism and individualism of the people belonging to a wide range of cultural backgrounds. And I'm sure that at your university, as in our faculty too, at the Faculty of Foreign Languages, we have students from all around the world. And whenever we teach or whenever we speak to them and teach language, we should take into account the values provided by anthropology, high and popular culture, sociology, business, international relations, and so on. Thus, we have to identify the ways that people behave in terms of individualism and collectivism in multilingual and multicultural societies. The activities of the art, literature, music, theater created by culture versus of the contemporary trends of popular culture. And here are some general truths, let's call them, that no education can take place without interpersonal communication. And I would like the students to tell me if they feel like this or not. Then effective teaching can thus be qualified in terms of relating effectively in the classroom. Effective education thus also supposes effective communication skills. Then communication as the means and indeed the medium of education is therefore crucial to school success in culturally diverse education. Teachers should therefore be sensitive to the potentially problematic outcomes of intercultural communication. And also communication may be a useful source of intercultural knowledge and mutual enrichment between culturally diverse students if managed proactively by the teacher. In terms of cultural interaction, language teaching has long been associated with teaching in a country or countries where a target language is spoken. But this approach seems to change nowadays, and we have already noticed this. And in the contemporary world, language teaching has a responsibility to prepare learners for interaction with people of other cultural backgrounds, teaching them skills and attitudes as well as knowledge. My lecture today focuses on euphemism, and I will start, of course, with a definition. It is from the American Heritage Dictionary. And euphemism is the act of an example of substituting a mild, indirect, or vague term for one considered harsh, blunt, or offensive. Edward Hirsch goes further and explains that euphemism has its roots in a Greek word meaning the use of auspicious words. Then, of course, we have the poetic use of euphemism and so on. Here in the Harper Dictionary of Contemporary Usage, because language has changed across times, here is a very funny letter, we may say, quoting how the word poverty has been publicly referred to and how much this word changed along the time. He said, I used to think I was poor. Then they told me I wasn't poor, I was needy. Then they told me it was self-defeating to think of myself as needy. So I was deprived. Then they told me deprived was a bad image, so I was underprivileged. Then they told me underprivileged was so overused, so I was disadvantaged. And finally, I still don't have a dime, but I sure have a great vocabulary. So yeah, this is a very funny letter. And then another example is provided by Lynn Schneider. This time the word concerns the fired employee. And maybe you heard about this and learned about this, especially in newspapers and so on, about persons when they refer to persons. So they say, if you are offered a career change or an early retirement opportunity, a career or employee transition, or you are being involuntarily separated, or if personnel is being realigned, or there is a surplus reduction in personnel, or the staff is being re-engineered or right-sized, or if there is a workforce imbalance correction, then you are fired. So this is another illustration of how the words have changed meanwhile. Here is also a definition, an explanation for the etymology of the word euphemism. That it is thought to derive from the Greek word euphenos, which means auspicious word sounding good. I'm not going to do the whole explanation, just to know about it. And then from euphemism, we changed to political correctness, which is also a debatable issue all over the world. So the use of a particular kind of euphemism is currently referred to as political correctness or being PC, in short. These are expressions which relate to people and society, and political correctness is a concern not to use language that might be perceived as offensive by particular members of society. Thus, the term people with learning difficulties was felt to be better than mentally handicapped, and the phrase senior citizens was referred to old age pensioners. Here is a very short explanation of how given by Becky Ford, given to the term political correctness that has been used since 1930s in Maoist China, when it meant fall in line with the Communist Party's politics. In the 1980s, in fact, there was a revival of the use of the term. But for some political correctness now primes that the prohibition of speech that is seen as derogatory toward historically marginalized groups, as well as the encouragement of more multicultural perspectives and so on. Then there are a lot of other explanations from its root in China. In the book Forbidden Words, Taboo and the Censoring of Language, Keith Allen and Kate Berridge analyzed the visual euphemisms that replace objects or concepts that are considered unpleasant. They say that visual euphemisms are commonplace. For example, low-calorie salad dressing, usually oil-free, is presented in shapely, slender-waisted bottles. The shape, the cleverly altered spelling, and the reverse coloring of some of the packaging sends out the message non-pattering, loud and clear. Marina Tehelshka said that while teaching politically correct language, a teacher should clearly differentiate between sexist language, pejorative language, and taboo language. Because sexist language is a term that labels the use of male-dominated phrases, suggesting that members of one sex are less able, intelligent, and skillful. As we already seen in Professor Oriana Alushi yesterday explanations. Then pejorative language is the use of words or phrases disapproving or suggesting that something is not good or no importance, like labeling nationalities, age, people, and so on as stereotypes we already discussed. And taboo language includes words or phrases which are likely to offend somebody in certain word referring to sex or sexual organs, expression, other people's nationality or race can be particularly offensive. Also we find this explanation in Cambridge International Dictionary. Avoiding these words and phrases means using politically correct language. Now, I picked up some exercises for the students because it's their turn to be involved in this. So here are some sentences using where euphemisms are, let's say, hidden, and they have to discover them. Is underlined, but just to identify them, and let's find, in fact, the normal use of them, the euphemism, if they can identify them. So first, this house is a handyman's dream, ideal for the do-it-yourself enthusiast. This means that the house so are the students here? Are they trying to solve the problem or?
Oh, are we supposed to respond?
Yes, please.
Okay, then I would like to respond to the first one. It's I would say it's a sort of translation that the house it was let's say built by an amateur.
Yes,
By a
yeah,
person,
can
not
be like
so,
this.
not by a professional, let's say. If it's a do-it-yourself enthusiast, then it's definitely somebody with no experience who can be passionate about building houses, but for which he did not invest much.
Yeah, and if we say a handyman's dream, this means that it has to be repaired. Okay, the next one, Tom bought a pre-driven car for $200. If it costs $200, what kind of car?
A lemon.
Is a pre-driven car.
It's second-hand vehicle.
Sorry?
It's a second-hand vehicle. A second-hand car used previously by somebody else.
Yes. So what kind of car is it? An old one. Instead of saying an old car, people choose to say like this.
In English, you say a lemon.
Yes.
Something that is not worth anything.
Yes. After the laboratory experiments, the scientists sacrificed the mice. Where is the
Killed.
killed the mice? Yes, thank you. Then the sanitary engineers will form a union next year.
The sanitary engineer, sanitary.
Mm-hmm. Then his supervisor said that he had been terminated because of too many absences. Supervisors, sorry.
Fired?
Fired, okay, had been fired. There is a mirror in the little girl's powder room.
The bathroom.
Bathroom instead of powder room. And you know also the expression, go to powder the nose. Okay, the steel workers were considering a work stoppage in 2 days.
Strike.
A strike. Instead of work stoppage, a strike. Then we'll have to let you go, Tom, said the managing director.
Fired.
Fired.
Okay. The kindest thing to do would be to put Blackie to sleep, said the vet.
To kill, basically.
Yeah, basically. Euthanize. But there is
Euthanize.
no chance that a revenue enhancement measure will pass during this session of Congress.
Increase.
Increase, yes. Increase in salaries and so on. A man is helping police with their inquiries.
Investigation.
Investigation. Right. The police sees the quantity of adult films.
Porn.
Yeah. He admitted he's between jobs.
He's jobless.
Unemployed.
Unemployed.
Unemployed, jobless.
Yes. The car was not up to scratch.
Up to par? I don't know. No, I don't know.
To start.
Oh, yeah.
The new coffee machine left a lot to be desired. Left a lot to be desired.
It was not working properly.
I was not working properly. Out of order.
It's of inferior qualities, something like that.
Useless.
Out of order.
Out of order. Poor quality. And his neighbor has just met his maker.
Creator. He just died. Died.
Okay. Then another exercise where we have difficult topics which English people this time often use euphemisms for, and to match them to the sentences and decide what the sentences really mean in straightforward English. So we have alcohol, birth, crime, lying, obesity, prison, strike, toilet, unemployment, warfare, stupidity. Oh. Would you like to wash your hands? Yeah, okay, but I can leave you like 2 minutes. Read all of them.
Sorry, Professor. So we are supposed to choose a word that defines each sentence.
Yes. So for the first one, would you like to wash your hands? Which is
Toilet.
toilet. Okay. At the end of the evening, the minister seems to be tired and emotional.
Old.
No.
Old.
Stupid. I don't know.
Somebody else?
Lying, maybe?
Alcohol.
Alcohol. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Tired and emotional.
Tired and emotional. Yes. John,
For the third one, I think it's unemployment.
yes, has been resting since his widely acclaimed performance. That's unemployment. When the lawyer questioned
Fourth one is lying.
was economical with
The truth.
So that's lying.
lying. Yes. There are 200 casualties in the battle for control of the pest.
Warfare.
Warfare. The Union of Teachers is organizing a day of action tomorrow.
Strike. Strike.
His uncle is a guest of Her Majesty for 2 years.
Prison.
Prison.
Yeah.
Their cassette recorder fell off the back of a lorry. This is crime, and it is used for theft because whenever the
crime.
thieves are caught. They say, no, I found this, just found this because maybe it fell from somewhere. Okay, this is for crime. Okay, as I told you, they are British English. Yes.
For 9 is birth. For
Oh.
number 9
Yes,
is
when
birth.
happy event going to be.
And for number 11 is obesity.
Yes, got a bit of spare time. Spare time.
Right.
This
And
one.
for number 12 is like stupid or something.
Yeah, is not the sharpest pencil in the box.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
the brightest bulb in the room.
Yeah, yes, yes. Okay, here you have some other euphemisms. You have to match them. They are only the words, not sentences.
An approved school.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Perhaps F.
Mhm. A penal institution for minors. Cash,
Financial trouble for number 2.
cuddling.
Fat, probably.
Yes.
So to get drunk, number 4. To drown one's sorrow, to get drunk.
Yes. Yes.
To have a liquid lunch. Oh. To drink a lot of
Drink in the
alcohol in the middle of the day.
Yes.
Intelligence is spying. Intelligence agencies is spying organizations. Light finger is stealing, in the habit of stealing. The oldest profession is prostitution. To put away is,
B, to lock up someone in prison
yeah,
or
and
mental hospital.
is underwear. And that's it.
Here we have also political correctness that meanwhile become part of standard English now. Underline that one you think is a more political correct expression in each case and why.
African American. Designation by origin, not by color. Avoiding the color.
Avoiding mentioning the color.
Yeah.
Then
Children with special needs rather than educationally subnormal children, because it avoids labeling them. It avoids labeling them as retarded or something, or subnormal, under normal, special needs.
okay.
A firefighter, because it doesn't express if it's a man or a woman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hearing impaired, obviously. Because it avoids pointing at the sheer problem, I guess. It avoids pointing out he's not functional or something. So it's just trying to reduce the effect, you know.
Yeah.
Homemaker, housewife, homemaker.
Homemaker.
Okay. Refuse collector. It doesn't say if it's a man or a woman, as in dustman.
Yeah.
Slum?
Standard housing.
Yes. Substance.
Because slum, it's slang language for substandard living condition.
Single parent.
Sorry.
Single parent, because it avoids mentioning If the marital status of the mother, so it's just, it can be a non-married father as well. So, you know, a single parent includes both of them, both a non-married mother or a unmarried father, right?
Yes.
Developing countries, because it does not imply, you know, the hierarchical sort of list of it. It avoids placing them in a order that could, I don't know, imply prejudice or not. Gratuity rather than tip or tip. I don't know this one.
No, we said we use, of course, tipping, but the tweet is more
Okay. Personal assistant or assistant.
assistant or personal assistant. Yes, we don't use secretary. And maybe
Person-
we can, we have already noticed that we, even in Romanian language, I'm not sure about Italian, if in Italian, the word secretary changed into some words meaning personal assistant. Because in Romanian we have this expression. I'm not sure about Italian. I mean, do you
Person of
use
interest.
word secretary with its proper meaning secretary, or you say instead of secretary you say in Italian personal assistant?
Well, secretary also, because you avoid the confusion. I mean, maybe you can realize it in context, but you also can avoid it in very particular contexts, I think. The confusion with the secretary of, I don't know, health, or secretary of some kind of minister department, of some kind of department.
No, yeah, but in this case it's the
Yeah.
proper meaning.
Actually, on labor market, there is a difference, a big difference between a secretary and assistant or a personal assistant.
That's correct, yes.
In which the difference is the secretary, the personal assistant or the assistant has more power, as in she or he can sign documents instead of the director or the chief, I don't know, or the ministry, or can negotiate something as
On
plan or, sorry?
On the behalf of?
On behalf of her or his chief. The secretary cannot do all these things. She is doing whatever she has to do, but under supervision and directed by her chief or his chief. So the difference is it's significant on labor market.
Yes.
Thank you for your contribution. I didn't know that.
Okay. The next one.
Person of interest.
Person of interest. Yes. Then
Issue.
issue.
Undocumented workers, because
Yes.
it avoids you know, saying they are not illegal. They might be in the process of documenting themselves, or in the process of becoming legal. So this way you avoid putting them in the same category. You know, they may not be illegal necessarily.
Or 15, it's enhanced interrogation.
Yes.
And for 16, it's four
Four
letter words.
Mhm.
Yeah, here we have some examples of racism and sexism this time. And so black of a person's skin color as opposed to black or Asian or Negro or colored, so on. So let's go to here. Then words as businessman prefer business executive, foreman prefer supervisor, and policeman prefer police officer.
Oh, I wanted to add something. I know for the secretary sometimes they use secretary executive. I just remember that.
Yes,
A secretary executive rather than I mean assistant executive rather than secretary. You know, I remember that as far as I know. Maybe
yeah.
not everybody, but yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
Sorry.
it's okay. Thank you for adding this. Okay, so in opposition to sexism is also one reason for the widespread adoption of the plural pronoun. As yesterday we learned about using they, them in the place of he or him. This is both easy to say and politically correct. Then suffixes marking gender, traditionally used to mark male and female, like actor and actress. These two words are still often used in both forms, but forms such as authoress, poetess, murderess, and negeress are considered old-fashioned nowadays. So if you want to be neutral, you can use the ir or suffix for male or female, like schoolmistress, schoolmaster sound old-fashioned. So use teacher instead. For air hostess, use flight attendant, which is neutral, or stewardess. Then we have also the specific words, man, woman, or person. Traditional social roles often meant that man was used even for roles performed by women. Now many people prefer a neutral form for both sexes, if there is one available. And here we have some examples: neutral, traditional male, traditional female, as Professor Iana Palucci also told us yesterday about these differences. So the tendency is to use the neutral words instead of the traditional male or female words. Then these words also are mentioned for social marking of words. And you have their examples of barber, burglar, butcher, cheerleader, conductor, detective, farmer, general, hairdresser, secretary, stationer, master, tailor, typist, and so on. And for example, nurse, that was considered so female that if a man was a nurse, he was often referred to a male nurse all the time. Okay, bachelor and spinster can both have negative or undivisible association. Use unmarried or single man or woman instead. You can also use partner instead of fiancé, especially for someone you live with as a couple but are not married to. For example, in Romanian, for bachelor, we have a word which is, let's say, fashionable, but for spinster, if we translate into English, it's like an old lady or an old maid or something like this, which is not very nice. So how about Italian?
I'm sorry, but it's the word you're referring to in Romanian exists also in English. It's called celibate. Is that the one you're referring to? Celibate. It also exists, at least in American English.
You mean?
Celibate or celibate.
Yeah, I know for this, but I was referring to, are you Romanian? I'm not, I don't know who is talking.
Yes, I am.
Mă referam la fată bătrână.
Nu, vorbeam de bachelor.
Nu,
I was referring to bachelor.
da, știu
there
că
is-
este și celibatar, spuneam că burlac este foarte ok, fată bătrână tradus. Sorry for debated in Romanian. On,
right.
The spinster word.
Oh, okay. I see. I was just saying that celibate could replace both of them.
Yes, I know. Nowadays, but okay, how is the word spinster in Italian? Is it a nice word? Do you have a nice word for this word? Okay, we move forward. Okay, here are also some other examples. Avoiding gender-specific language in the following sentences. Change the words in italics to neutral political correctness, words with the same meaning. Of course, make any other grammatical changes that then become necessary. Okay, who wants to read? So these young people need to have been physically trained if they apply to be
in the police force. I don't know. I have nothing. Nothing more neutral than that.
Or police officers, we say.
Police officers.
Avoiding men or women. Okay. Then, dear Miss or Mrs. Johnson, I'm writing to you in order to help me with the sale purchase contract.
Miss. Dear Miss Johnson.
Yes, because you don't know if she's married or not. So.
Right.
The evolution of man was a contentious issue for the 19th century. The evolution of
human species? I don't know.
This is humanity.
Of humanity, yeah.
The air hostesses will shortly be moving through the cabin serving drinks and food.
Flight attendant.
Flight attendant. Okay, in 1969, men first set foot on the moon. Neil Armstrong's famous words were, "That is one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind."
In 1969, first person set foot on the moon. Neil Armstrong's famous words were, "That is one step for humanity, one giant leap for humankind."
Humanity as well.
Anything, human beings.
I would say humankind.
Humankind, yeah.
Okay, then.
Every salesperson in the company is required to meet a monthly target. The best of them will be nominee for the best salesperson of the year.
Okay.
Synthetic fiber?
The members of the committee agreed to amend to elect a new chairman.
To a
don't
person
understand.
to elect a new chairperson? I don't know.
Yes. Who
Who
was
was the first person to fly in across the Pacific?
and
The firefighters
the firefighters had the fight.
with the blazes for 2 hours. Yeah.
Okay, here you have some extremes of political correctness. They are used while trying to avoid hurting others, feeling that it verges on the ridiculous, creating expressions that are excessively combative. Okay, can you match the PC expressions on the left with their translations on the right?
Charm-free is ugly.
Yes.
Chronologically gifted.
Disorganized, I don't know. It can be disorganized or what?
I don't think so.
You should
Disorganized
better
could be
read all of them and then we can match them.
Sorry, we didn't hear you.
I think it is better you read all of them and then try to match them.
Okay.
I think chronologically gifted could be old.
Old, yes.
Okay, in charm-free, it's boring. D.
Yes, yes. So if you read all of them, you
Cosmetically different, it's ugly.
yes.
Here, disadvantage is bold. Mentally challenged is stupid. Non-traditionally ordered. Non-traditionally ordered?
Disorganized.
Disorganized, yes. Big boned is
Tall.
Fat.
Tall.
And
fat.
vertically inconvenience.
Is tall.
Tall. Yeah.
Now you have some other expressions also. You have also, let's say, quotation on the left, political correctness, a modern slavery in the free world. What do you think about this? Trying to be so politically correct and to use these kind of words and so on.
Yeah. Gentleman of the road, that's vagrant. That's a homeless person, right?
Yes, right.
Okay. Neil achieved a deficiency, so failed the test.
Failed test, yes.
The manager complains that his secretary is temporarily challenged. Old, right?
No. Temporal challenge.
Meaning Mrs. Timeline, deadlines, Mrs. Deadline, right?
She's always late, yes.
She's always late, Mrs. Deadlines, and she's always late, yeah. Oh, that's fat.
Samantha
Samantha
is
is funny.
larger than the average.
Yeah. ADD, John is not paying attention.
Yes.
Alcoholic. If he doesn't stop being an alcoholic. Okay. I'm sorry, what?
I was just repeating the.
Oh, okay.
Repeating the sobriety, the words. Okay.
So it was jobless.
Yes.
Unemployed, domestic, housewife, homemaker, something. Because he gets very angry, kind of.
Bad-tempered.
Bad-tempered, yeah.
His all neighbors on the street.
Is homeless as well as unemployed is. Yeah.
Ask his secretary if she had considered early retirement.
Fired, being fired, getting fired. Yeah.
And here are the references of the books that I quoted in the presentation. Okay, so if you have any more questions, first of all, I want to thank you for being such involved in answering to questions and exercises.
Thank you so much. The examples have been really great. I mean,
Yes,
I had
absolutely.
no idea. Political correctness has gone so far, a little bit too far.
Yes, there are thousands of examples, and I think nowadays we enhance all these issues and try to solve them, but I think we make them more and more complicated.
Yeah, we're trying, everybody's trying to tiptoe around the truth.
Yes,
Sort of.
yes.
Thank you
You
for
know.
giving us some of your expertise. Thank you so much.
I thank you.
Yes, it was.
Thank you for everybody who contributed.
Yeah, I would also like to congratulate on Professor Mihaela for this interesting presentation. And I was thinking when I was listening to the examples provided, I was thinking about the translation process, translation problems that sometimes we face. For example, a few weeks ago, I was reading a text on sustainable tourism with my students attending the third year, or I think are here now. And there was the word third countries, which was mentioned in the source text, which was written a few years ago. And, you know, when we translate, we have to be aware that language changes. So we have to be always aware that maybe a straightforward word-by-word translation is not the right solution, because we have to take into account all the changes that languages have been going through, like, you know, taking into account political correctness. And so that's not, again, this is to say that translating is not an easy job. And I think that students have to be aware of these nuances, of these, you know, slight changes that language can have. So that's why I think that this lecture was really, really helpful and useful. So again, it provided very useful food for thoughts for our students and for professors and everyone. So thank you so much.
So I have a question. That's a very interesting point. How would one translate words that were like, as you said, third world country? You would translate them with a new lingo? You translate them in your own language with a new lingo, meaning with the politically correct terms?
That's right. Try to think about the politically correct solution. So probably the alternative here was developing countries. Probably paesi in via di sviluppo might have been a good solution, rather than saying paesi del terzo mondo, because third world countries is not politically correct.
Okay, thank you so much.
I hope I was able to answer this question.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Or, for example, there was another example provided by Professor Mihaela, which was illegal immigrants, okay, which now is usually replaced by undocumented workers, okay, which is more politically correct.
It's not only more politically correct, but it's also inclusive, because you don't know, no one knows the situation of everybody, and some of them might be in the process of legalizing it. That's what I mean.
So stigmatizing as
yes, stigmatizing the rest for the few that are in the process of legalizing it.
But what is fun is that I was checking my dictionary, and the dictionary translated the undocumented worker as a lavoratore clandestino, which is not as political undocumented workers. So again, we really have to think about so many things when we translate from one language into the other. So I really think we were provided with very...
Yeah, it almost sends you, it almost sends you in a loop, right? It sends you in a vicious circle, in a loop.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much for illuminating us in that example.
Thank you.
We would really love to hear from your Italian students, maybe an example or something, because we were sharing ours, and the impact of English on translation on national terminology is hugely known. So it would be interesting if someone from Italian students participating in this course would like to share a term.
To be honest, I have a question for Professor Mihaela, which is also related to the presentation that Professor Polucci made yesterday, which was also very interesting. Because as we saw today, political correctness can lead to very clumsy expressions, which sound ridiculous sometimes. And in Italy lately, we are trying to create new words, which could be also used for the feminine. And it is a very discussed field, discussed object, because sometimes it sounds too forced. And I wanted to ask if the same thing happens also in your language.
Yes, happens sometimes. Yes, they are exaggerations, let's say. Yes, and sometimes we cannot translate all the, let's say, all the feminist words, so we just borrow them from English and leave them in English. I mean, if we speak Romanian, we leave them in English and use them their English form. So it's a mixture of Romanian and English.
Thank you.
Yeah, in terms of sorority, for example, we don't have this word in Romanian, and they try to translate it to Romanian, but it's very clumsy, as you mentioned. So yeah, there are some other examples too.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Otherwise, I want to thank you again for your participation in the lecture, and see you. I don't know, we have 4 other courses to attend with our students in partnership with University of Benevento. So we are very happy to be partners in this, and I will ask my students to attend the next lectures. They will be every day at 12 o'clock.
Thank you, Ramona. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Okay, I'm sorry I couldn't chat with you. Thank you for your lesson. I'm arriving in Rome at the moment. And
yesterday I had problems with my internet connection, so we are even.
Yes, but I think the 2 lessons went very well together, even if we didn't plan it. And so I wanted to thank you very much, and see if we can work together in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Be aware that tomorrow at 11 a.m. CET, so 11 Italian time, 12 noon Romanian time, we'll have a lecture in French on French literature, presented by our guest Claudia Minola. L'esthétique du nouveau roman, le récit impossible d'Alain Robbe-Grillet. Donc, on voyagera au XXe siècle, on vous attend. And afterwards, as you already guessed, we work in pairs. So the second day we'll have another French course. I would love to share with you some views on Romanian writers who chose to write in French, and we'll discuss some of those theoretical aspects regarding the national literature and the literature written in another language. Thank you for joining. If you have any other questions, this is the last opportunity to raise your hand. If not, have a great afternoon and see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.